Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And let's just cut straight to the chase here, Dragon. This is our first collaborative pitch. Man, oh man, folks. In the wake, it's been about a month since the Not So Awesome document and all the drama surrounding that with Channel Awesome leaked. And Dragon and I, in that whole time, we've been talking, haven't we, Dragon?
Yes, we have.
We've been saying, like, my God, this is the makings of a movie. This is literally Stranger Than Fiction right here. This is the makings of like a big epic Hollywood biopic. This needs to be a biopic. Just right away, as soon as it started happening, it's just like, folks, the events surrounding Channel Awesome is just it's the ultimate rise and fall storyline. It's the ultimate like high of highs and low of lows, the best of times, the worst of times. And honestly, as someone who grew up in my high school years loving the Nostalgia Critic and loving all the producers on Channel Awesome in their own way, the events that took place last month, Dragon, they both left me heartbroken, shook, and kind of coming out at the end of it kind of morbidly intrigued by the whole affair. Reputations got ruined, lives got destroyed in the process, but that's what makes this whole thing kind of like, this needs to be documented. This needs to be a movie.
Exactly. I mean, because I've been associated with the Nostalgia Critic, and I was introduced to it through my friend, and we just kind of got talking. And he told me about it, and I checked it out. Basically, I've been invested in the Nostalgia Critic since all the parts of Kick-Assy were uploaded. So basically, I guess 2010. I've been involved with it for roughly 8 years.
Dragon, I go back to Doug from the YouTube days, man. I've been there from the very beginning. I was there from Cartoon All Stars. Right from the very get-go. I was one of the people. I was one of the first wave, man. I still have early memories of that Cartoon All Stars review.
So
nostalgia for the Nostalgia Critic. Am I right?
I know, absolutely. And I guess let's just quickly we'll preface it all of this just to kind of explain something. Because the goal I had, and I hope we're on the same page about this, folks, we're going to broach this. We're not just trying to be like anti-Channel Awesome or anything. We're trying to present like an accurate view here. I mean, of course, there's some little liberties taken because it's a biopic. You always have some liberties taken, but I like to think we have sparing liberties just for dramatic effect in place. I like to think we're pretty on the money with this. I'd like to think.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, as you can see here, folks, we have our whole poster with our cast, and you're going to see some side-by-side comparisons for all these casting choices as we go through these. Also, disclaimer right now, this is a podcast that's going to be done in 3 parts for each of the 3 acts of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can see, just to set the groundwork here, the movie is called Not So Awesome, and it is directed by Danny Boyle, who we picked for one movie and one movie only, Dragon, Steve Jobs, which you and I both love.
Yep, love the Steve Jobs movie. It's really good. Don't know, Tiki and I, we love other biopic directors, but Danny Boyle just seemed to be kind of the work on Steve Jobs.
It was kind of between Danny Boyle and David Fincher, and I kind of thought that Danny Boyle would be more culturally in tune with what Channel Awesome is.
Exactly, and again, Fincher's good, but he kind of has, he really. It's hard to describe. I mean, you'd probably be able to describe it.
He's got it. Oh, I can describe it personally in one word, Dragon: nihilism.
That's a thing. I mean,
very nihilistic.
And with Steve Jobs, even when things are kind of coming down around him in places, there's still fun. There's an energy to it, and that's kind of, we're trying to get like a lot of the energy that Danny Boyle had in Steve Jobs when you have all these things going off at once while you're focused on a singular event. And we kind of tried to transfer that into the film movie. And does it feel like 100? Again, we might have like a special. Basically, it's like a Danny Boyle directed film, but let's just say we have some crazy editors and writers and Tiki and myself. Let's say, but
and then story wise, I would say, just to lay the groundwork here, the story, like Danny Boyle, like structurally, it's not really that similar to Steve Jobs. I think
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
but one thing that's similar to Steve Jobs is kind of like the idea that we have a character that's got a bloated ego about him, but that's about it. I would say actually in terms of story, this is much more in line with The Social Network, except this story is basically The Social Network on crack with smaller stakes. Like, it's smaller stakes Social Network, but it's way crazier than The Social Network. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
All right.
That's what we're working with, folks. And again, we're
it's
trying
also
not.
The founder. This I would say this movie is kind of like we aimed it to be a perfect amalgamation between the founder and the social network.
For me, there was definitely a whole lot of founder in my half of the writing, I guess.
That's the thing. That's the thing. This being our first collaboration, the social network, folks, just so I don't gush about it, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. I love it to death. Easily my favorite biopic ever made. So this social network is in my blood creatively. Yeah, I can't speak. Social network is in my blood, creatively speaking. Dragon, I didn't love the founder as much as you did, but I liked it a great deal. You were really in tune with the founder.
Yes. And again, the works of John Lee Hancock, I think, they're wonderful, and he's a fantastic biopic director. So he's always been kind of like
he's a little too syrupy and a little too family friendly for what this movie calls for.
I mean, that's fair. So we're kind of going for a little amalgamation of some of our favorites in kind of biopicdom, if you will. So yeah, and again, folks, last thing, just a little reminder, again, folks, we're not trying to be like biased. We're just trying to present things as we imagine they unfolded in kind of an entertaining way. So we're trying not to. We've read through the document. I mean, that's pretty. We can say again, we've definitely
no. Let's be perfectly clear here, Dragon. I have sat through like maybe 10. Like 5-hour plus social injustice warrior streams. All right. Like I have been, as they say in the military, in the shit when it comes to this story. All right. Like I feel like I have done some real grassroots journalism when it comes to this thing to really pull and get the fine comb details of what really went down from the people themselves as they were talking about it when it was going down.
And that's the thing. Basically, where it came down the research, then we'll just jump right into it here. Tiki's he's up to date on everything and all the stuff that's gone. He's into each of the the producers and such, and basically anything that's the social justice warriors brought up. And again, he's come through the document. What I've done really is I've definitely done my research. I've looked into it. I've watched not all of the social injustice warrior stuff, but
to be fair, all the streams I've had on in the background while I do have other things, so it's not like I'm just sitting there not doing anything else but this, but still my attention is very much zeroed in on it.
The point is, I definitely did my research, and I definitely come through the document, kind of listed out events that happened and basically connected dots. And what I really got a lot of that from those, because I had kind of a really in-depth knowledge of the anniversary specials and the making of the anniversary specials with the vlogs and the commentaries. And I rewatched them, and as I'd seen before in the DVDs that Channel Awesome had put out for each of the anniversary specials. And I definitely watched some of the old commentaries, just kind of tried to kind of get a feel on how certain things came out. Basically, a lot of the origin stuff in Act 1, I think, is definitely kind of from that. And, of course, a lot of fun making of stories. And, again, the fascinating thing going into this project, and since the doc was released, is that particularly when we get to the anniversary stuff, and that's the reason I try to say we're kind of going for kind of as unbiased as we can going into this, because, again, I've heard kind of the rosy version of basically all this. I could verify a lot of the anniversary stuff that is on the doc from hearing kind of the sunnier side of it on the commentaries on the making ofs, these anniversary specials. I mean, again, it's really interesting because, again,
after all, we all know how much Obscurus Lupa just loved working for Channel Awesome, right? We just, I mean, she said it in a documentary, so it must be true.
Exactly, and that's the point. It's just that's the crazy effect of all this, is that, again, we have I'm familiar with all the stuff they're bringing up, and I said, well, yeah, I never thought of in such a negative in negative context how they were equating it, and it just kind of makes you think, and you really go back and you wonder, oh boy, maybe that wasn't, and there's a lot more surface tension going on there, and you realize, kind of makes you do a deep dive. So that's essentially what we're doing here, folks, doing a deep dive in the form of a biopic, and of course we cast some of Hollywood and TV's creme de la creme, kind of the best of actors, people we feel
I feel like with this cast, we have a great kind of mix of A-list talent mixed with really, really good TV actors. I feel like it's a really good, the TV actors are mostly on your end, Dragon, and a lot of the A-listers are kind of on my end. it was a very good collaboration in terms of the casting process.
We're very proud of our cast, to say the least.
I mean, as you can see, with it being proudly displayed in this poster right here.
And folks, let's just say we have a little special versions to sell you on a lot of this casting, so you'll see as we go.
This movie is essentially the freaking biopic version of Infinity War, folks. I'm just gonna be blunt with you right here. Like this movie's gonna be long. This movie's gonna be involved. It's gonna feature a ton of characters, but you know what? It's all gonna come together in the end.
Let's just say Act 3, and I'll tease this with Act 3. Act 3 is gonna be it's definitely be edited like Infinity War. I'll tell you that much. Act 3 is gonna be a doozy.
I don't want to go, Doug.
Film brain says to him. Okay. All right, so I guess Tiki and I, babes, we have kind of the same kind of script with us here, so we'll be kind of going back and forth as we get into it.
You've got to be kidding me. Dragon, the window that I had open just closed on me, and I hope to God that all the images that we had up are intact, or else we're going to be in some deep crap. Presentation-wise.
Well, do you want me to read through the thing? We'll get that up when we get that up, or
yeah, sure. Read through the thing. I don't even know what thing you're referring to is, but I just.
Well, I mean, the pitch. Do you want me to start getting into the pitch? I mean, maybe establishing a few things.
Yeah, Dragon. I'm just gonna say this right up. I mean, we're I don't know what happened, Dragon. We had this whole thing lined up. We had all these tabs open, and the window just closed on me. The window just crashed on me, and now, well, Dragon, hold on. I'll show you for yourself so you can see what our situation is.
Okay.
It's just
full transparency, folks. I'm gonna be proud of Soni Channel Awesome is not quite in the practice of quite yet. And folks, that's all
exactly.
And again, folks, we say that we're trying to be really, really fair with that here too. I want to make it clear. It's the facts as they exist.
This is the situation here, Dragon. We have every tab is like this. So I don't know what you want to like. Basically, our options are we can either just go with the poster as the root image and just take it from there. We can end this and start up a new one after I restore all these images. Or what we can do maybe is I can just we can just kind of build to the person and I can scroll down.
Do you mean basically kind of build them up as it loads and present?
Yes, pretty much.
Well, I mean, I guess can you get the poster as the main image and do that as we go on? Or we can just go on and we'll have we just go through it, I guess.
Yeah. I honestly, I think it'd be easier to just screen share the page that we're on and just have it build up. All right.
All right.
I'm sorry, folks, but full transparency, as Dragon said.
All right. So I guess we should. Well, I guess I'll get us started then with our framing device, right?
Yes. But I'm sorry. Is this where you want to introduce the casting? Like, let me know when you want to introduce the casting here. I'm kind of.
Sure. Well, hey, what? Can we get the Walker brothers? Can we start with those?
Yeah, we can start with them. Do you want to do them right now?
Yeah. Let me
just build to the framing device, and then I will pull them up. Okay.
Let me get into the framing device. You definitely get the first of the Walker brothers up there.
Okay.
Just work on getting them both to start with. So the first one.
Okay.
All right, folks. So our framing device for this film is, we have a framing device which essentially will definitely pay off in Act 3, let's say. And our framing device is it's set in 2018, and it is it's right after the not so awesome response, the second one. After the second not so awesome,
the whole debacle with the Jew Wario leak and just everyone coming down on them. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back point, the going back point.
So essentially, let me paint a picture here. So 2018, our framing device is established here at the very top of things. So we basically inverse the awesome post-credit scene from Tivoli Flea, and I really do love the post-credit scene of Tivoli Flea. Basically, we see the Walker brothers, typing the end, and we see them when they initially hung up the Nostalgia Critic persona, which we're going to see essentially that in real life in this film. And basically, we have that image. It's really important. So we kind of inverse that image where it ended on the coat and hat. So we see the coat and hat, then we go to the brothers.
I've got Doug whenever you're ready for Doug.
Sure. One second, almost there.
Okay.
So essentially, we inverse the post-credit scene from Tivoli Flea, and we build to the Walker brothers. Let's take a look at them. Start with Doug.
Okay, let's start with Doug.
So, folks, just to set up here, as you can see before you, Doug Walker in our film is played by the wonderful Ryan Gosling, the Gosling Sans, if you will.
Yeah, this casting worked for me for a variety of reasons. I think Ryan Gosling gets, like, he's a very handsome guy, but he's also a dork. Like, that's the thing I've always loved about Gosling. That's kind of the appeal to me about Gosling, is that he kind of goes both ways, you know what I mean? Kind of floats between those two worlds. And as you can see here, Dragon, do you even know what movie this image is from?
Well, I mean, you'll be able to verify this, but I know the SNL did like an Avatar parody, and that's what that's what this is from.
Oh, okay. So, folks, just this visual is basically all you need to know about why we cast Gosling as Doug, because it's just like, I don't know, I feel like visually it's just spot on, but also importantly for me being a big Gosling fan, I think Gosling's got this kind of spontaneity about him. I think he can carry the weight on his shoulders, but he can also have a good time and have a smile on his face. And honestly, Dragon, I know that La La Land is kind of like everyone freaking hates La La Land. It's kind of like the whole culture is turned on that movie. I still like it, but La La Land, his character in that movie, I felt was very much kind of like, on the outset, his life is kind of miserable. He's struggling to pay rent. He has a dead-end job. He's in a series of failed relationships. But at the end of the day, with his character, he still finds a way to be this big magnetic personality and be this draw and be this person that we really, throughout the course of the film, kind of grow to get attached to. And that's what I feel like Gosling can bring to Doug. I feel like Gosling can bring an air of levity, an air of humor, but also kind of carry the weight of the role on his back.
The main reason I cast Gosling was for The Nice Guys, where he does this flawless kind of comedic performance and very Lou Costello-esque at times. And the point is that over the top quality, we need someone who looks vaguely like Doug Walker. In this case, kind of the Hollywood version of Doug Walker, which you can buy Gosling as because he has similar head shape. And again, he's kind of like, okay, that's what. Basically, again, it's also with this. Honestly, what I'm kind of aiming for with this is that hopefully one of these days, again, obviously you're not laughing at it, or you're not reflecting on it well right now, but I think in the future, once all said and done, maybe they can watch, maybe the channel awesome producers and everyone involved in this whole affair would be able to look back at this and come away saying, you know what, that was interesting. That was a well-made film about us.
Right.
So again, I think we have some flattering cat. I don't know.
Not accomplished. Well, actually, what's funny, Dragon, with the Social Network is that everyone besides Zuckerberg loves the Social Network. The
Really?
Winklevoss twins in particular, if you can believe it, love the Social Network, Dragon. The Winklevoss twins are like bigger Social Network fans than I am.
So anyway, so again, someone who I could buy as the nostalgia critic while looking kind of vaguely like Doug Walker. So I can kind of buy both sides of the performance there and kind of be over the top, kind of yelling and such, like I saw in The Nice Guys for Gosling. And that's what really end of the day, that's what sold me. And I think Doug Walker would be pleased with that casting. I'd like to.
Okay, and for our Rob, we have
Robert Walker. Anyway, let me build. Okay, there we go. Yes, we have Will Forte.
Will Forte. Honestly, this is just kind of like, I think he's got kind of a similar voice, kind of like a dry comedic range, just like Rob does. I don't have a ton to say about this casting choice in comparison to Doug with Gosling, but I think he'd be a formidable kind of person to co-lead the film along with Doug. And importantly, folks, at the end of the day, this story is going to be a story about brothers. It's going to be the story about what brothers built together, and there's going to be a lot of other moving parts involved, and those moving parts are going to be the brothers' downfall in the end. But this, Doug and Rob are definitely the main characters of the story.
Exactly. So, and then if a third tier would be Michaud once we get to him. So
I would say Doug, Rob, and Michaud, but Michaud is definitely our antagonist.
Exactly.
So
I'm just saying those are our three pillars for the majority of the film. Those are kind of our three. And you're right. At the end of the day, it's the whole framing device. So let's just get back to it again. That's it's all centered around our brothers here. They're the guys we're checking in with, and essentially. So, we have Rob pacing very manic in horror behind Doug, who's like sitting at the computer, and our framing device said, he's combing over the Google Doc and like videos and people's responses to what's going on as their phones are lighting up, like text and everything coming in. So the idea, folks, is to make it clear. So this is like right after, maybe a few hours even after the second not so awesome response, which foolishly gave away, the Juario of it all. So you have to think they're real. This is like after they've realized, oh crap, people have deciphered that. That's essentially what this whole frame is, what that moment is. So all the text and comments.
And Juario is another kind of pillar in the movie where you'll see what we do with him. He's going to be mostly in Act 2, but to set the bar with him, it's kind of going to be like like anyone familiar with the Channel Awesome story is going to know just the stigma around Justin Carmichael and how he was basically deified before what came out about him came out. So this movie is going to really play on that. It's going to really play on people's perceptions of Justin before and after. Mostly before, though. It's going to kind of play on what the audience knows about Justin afterwards and what the people around Justin thought of him in the present tense as the events were unfolding.
Yeah, folks, we're not just transcribing events for this. We're trying to paint kind of an accurate kind of emotional experience that you have with these content providers, as well as the kind of the impact they have on each other. So there's definitely a thematic tie to a lot of this. A lot of this, folks, we put a lot of thought in this. There's a lot of intentional stuff here. So. Anyway, so Doug and Utter Horror, so basically our cold open is, Doug and Utter, for a framing device here, Doug and Utter Horror is looking at the screen, not looking at his brother, like pacing back and forth behind him as all the text and all the chaos is flowing, and like they have the awesome, the not so awesome document like printed out and circled on like blood red marker and everything, and Doug and Utter Horror is looking straight at the screen, which again is basically, anytime you see like a video that would link back to our present, you're out there watching it. So the idea is like anything that is in the document is again basically being perceived as like Doug is thinking about it, and that's kind of what we're seeing on the screen. If not, so that's the thing. A lot of it is linked to that document, hence the title. And Doug
is a pivotal word, a pivotal line, Dragon,
yes.
A pivotal line that gets us from our framing device into the start of the story, which is, what have we done?
We have this sweet opening credits sequence inspired by Death of Superman Lives. Where basically we have a bunch of screens, cryptic foreshadowing. We see mostly headlines and names that are going to factor into the film.
Like kind of like Pop Quiz Hotshot, Groomer, The Room.
Response, faces, an actor. And basically every time you see a face of a Channel Awesome contributor, you see the actor's name, and that's how we do that, which is kind of cool. And like The Room is a big one, though. Absolutely, The Room's a big one. Doug gets up to the computer, and again we kind of play with. Again, I love that last shot from Bully Flea. So he gets up, and in silhouette, he and his brother, like their glasses are reflected in light, and while they are in darkness, he turns, and basically he's at a crossroads in the frame. Like the lit computer's on the right side of him, behind him, and he's staring down the hat and coat. Like, do I put it on again? Essentially, that's the crossroads that he's at. And again, that's a opening credit sequence. Okay,
so let me take us through the this opening in 2007, Dragon. Yeah. We have a disaster artist style. I'm sorry, what?
No, go on.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I wasn't interrupting you. Okay. Disaster artist, with disaster artist, we build to Tommy Wiseau, where we kind of see him, we kind of see the back of him, and then we get this really big kind of the Streetcar Named Desire monologue that he delivers with the disaster artist. Well, we're going to do something very similar here, folks. We're going to see, we're going to follow a man who's carrying a boombox down a hallway, and Dragon, the score is going to be, I'm sorry, we probably should have hatched this out beforehand, but
well, okay. Also, it's 2007, by the way, folks. So again, 2018 is where the framing device, where the present's taking place, and 2007 is where it all starts. Here, we're going from the very beginning of it. It's like he's going down a hallway. Like the walkers love the sounds of Wagner, so we could use Wagner if they wanted to. But let's just say it's 2000. It's like a big, like an epic score.
So basically, like dun, 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 dun. Boom, boom, boom.
Exactly. So
so then we reveal, the camera kind of pans around the man in question as he stands on a chair, and we see him take off his shirt, and we see on his chest, written on his chest, "I quit." And Dragon, we probably should have talked this out beforehand, but
well, it's the fire. It's literally, so folks, it's literally the firing video that was posted. That Doug and Rob posted.
But what we should have talked about is: do we go with the Bohemian Rhapsody, or does the music kind of drown out the Bohemian Rhapsody? Because the important thing with that video is that he's got the boombox, the boombox, and Bohemian Rhapsody's playing. He's kind of like like bobbing his head to the song as he's he's basically giving everyone the finger in that video.
Well, essentially, the way I imagine that would be basically the music comes, and then when he turns the boombox on with,
and then that would be Bohemian Rhapsody as the boombox comes on.
Yeah, because honestly, I think they might have used, if they didn't use 2001 or they put music over it before that played, it's the same effect regardless. Like they spliced music in together, so basically he timed it so he would get up there, then it would play into the Bohemian Rhapsody.
Gotcha.
Either way, the point is,
of course, naturally security is called, and Doug flees the scene. And then we see his brother Rob, who has been taping the whole thing, gets in the car with him, and they escape.
A little fact, and again, just to give context, that he worked as a janitor in an automotive electronic factory. So that's where nostalgia really started. He started as a janitor at a factory.
Also, I feel like we should address this this whole opening sequence as one of our bigger creative liberties with the timeline. Essentially what we're doing here, folks, is we're gonna make Doug Walker quitting his job, instead of kind of like quitting his job and kind of like a cocky, like, I don't have to work here anymore because my nostalgia critic videos are paying the bills. Instead, it's gonna kind of be more of a more of a character tone setter, where Doug is going to quit his job in this movie. Like I said, not every folks, like I said, we're going to try and stay as true to life as we can. But in this movie, we thought, instead of Doug quitting his job, because it's a great scene, right, Dragon? It's like a great opening introductory scene. That's what we kind of grabbed from it. It was a great way to kind of set the tone for who Doug Walker is as a person, not who the nostalgia critic is, but who Doug Walker is. And so with that in mind, we kind of just twisted around some of the motivations behind the quitting, where essentially Doug and Rob, they're having the conversation in the car, and he says, he just hated doing something that he didn't love. And then Rob asks, well, what's next?
Then cut to, and again, we have a lot of fun with the editing in this movie, folks. So again, as Rob is asking the logical question, okay, well, I'm with you. You quit your job, and I'm supportive of here, but what do we do next? And of course, we cut to what our nickname is the Trio, otherwise known as the Three Stooges by a lot of people, I guess, more pointed on the matter. But we cut to kind of our trio of Mike Michaud, Mike Ellis, and Bhargav.
Okay, so let's quickly go through the casting on these. Michaud is obviously by far the biggest character here, and he's being played by Jesse Eisenberg just because Jesse Eisenberg was bald in that one movie. No, I'm just kidding.
In all seriousness, though, Eisenberg, and again, this is just I finally watched Social Network for many, many years to get ready for this, folks. So, in doing so, I kind of, Tiki absolutely sold me on it, where Eisenberg essentially in this film would play a kind of a, basically imagine Mark
Zuckerberg from the Social Network, so not the real life Mark Zuckerberg, but the character of Mark Zuckerberg from the Social Network.
But imagine if Zuckerberg didn't know what he was talking about, but he acted like he did. That's essentially what.
Exactly, because the thing in the Social Network is Zuckerberg is just hyper intelligent. But imagine if Zuckerberg thought he was hyper intelligent, but he was actually just an idiot.
And that's what we play with Michaud here. So yeah, take us through Michaud.
Sure. So the idea with Michaud is that he's going to kind of be this, essentially he's going to be at first kind of like the competent businessman of the group, where we see him like out of the trio in Circuit City. He's the one person who's actually applying himself to the job. He's like closing sales. He's, like we see, like he's kind of like a company man. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, yeah, I know how to do business here. I'm really good. Hey guys, did you see it? I just made a sale.
Like the thing is,
I just love the idea that he's like bragging to Ellis and Bhargav about selling a TV or something.
That's a thing. So like, the three of them, they have a very clerks or like comic book men, like kind of dynamic. Where when it comes to business, Michaud, he's a good salesman. He can convince people, he can manipulate people, and he can talk people into something he has no idea about, but he can sound like he knows what he's talking about. So he's a good salesman. And he thinks he has ambition, but he doesn't have any skills necessary to achieve that ambition. Like he's trying to get into upper management at Circuit City, which, as we know, Circuit City doesn't really stick around that long. And he basically, Michaud, he's kind of Icarus, kind of trying to fly to the sun on this, where he basically, after like this, he's like kind of, yeah, guys, look at me, top salesman, right? Right now. Right. And he's trying to move up to executive position. Again, we see the lack of foresight with Michaud, where he's like, hey, you can use me in upper management. And, well, do you have any real skills? And of course, he doesn't have any skills or talent for management because he's a good salesman. That's about it. And the boss kind of hits him along with that, like basically making it the one bad day that kind of begins Michaud's arc here, where we have to lay people off because Circuit City's really not doing good business wise. We have to lay off as well as you kind of taking the initiative here. Wrong timing, buddy. So the three of them, Ghostbusters style. And of the walkers, they adore Ghostbusters.
You want to set the stage on who we have as Bhargav and Ellis while we're at it?
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah, you're right. So, okay, so we have Mike Ellis. So Mike Ellis is played by an actor from Legends of Tomorrow. Who, by the way, I got to tell you, folks, again, the image may not do it justice, but you got to take my word on it. If anyone watches Legends of Tomorrow,
I got to say, folks, just a disclaimer with this image, we had a really hard time with it, and this is probably the least accurate, like, side-by-side comparison. But you know what, Dragon? I just blame the fact that this is the only photo of Mike Ellis that exists on the internet.
Exactly. So it's really
that stupid ass comb over haircut.
Exactly. But I think you can see in the bone structure. And of course, bear in mind, folks, there might be a little squash and stretch, but I think we did it. I think it'll be good regardless.
Don't you even start with me, buddy. I spent way too many hours on these things.
No, I'm just saying again, folks, it's something you gotta to get it like again a side by side. We have wonderful side by sides here, and again, we have this for all of our actors, and I think you'd be very impressed. I'm just saying, it's in case
5 of them.
You gotta trust this, folks. That again, I think that you'll see the similar bone structure in Nick Zano here. The point is that Nick Zano, he's on Legends of Tomorrow. He plays Nate, Citizen Steel, the guy who has the Colossus power. That's essentially that's Nick Zano. He sold me. He's a good actor, and I could buy him as kind of a cocky guy like Mike Ellis. Who again, he seems like a good guy, and I've seen Nick Zano play a ladies' man in an episode of Mom that he did. So I could buy him.
Essentially, Ellis is kind of like, basically Ellis is almost going to be foreshadowing to what eventually goes down with Justin, where he seems like a nice guy on the offset, but very quickly we come to realize there's something really off with him.
Going with the Ghostbuster parable, he's kind of the Ray Stantz of our trio right here. He's the Dan Aykroyd of the trio, where he's the guy who actually has some good ideas. He's kind of the. But here's the thing, Michaud, in a way, throughout this thing, let's introduce Bhargav, then I'll say.
Okay.
So Bhargav is played by an actor I really love, and not just for the movie that we're going to be pulling an image from here, but seriously, I love him in a lot of things I've seen him in. He was in a show with Patrick Stewart. I really liked him in it, and that's kind of what I based him off of here. He was in. We have Karan Soni. Karan Soni, he plays Dupinder in Deadpool, and he was a character in Blunt Talk with Patrick Stewart. He played just kind of a soft-spoken kind of corporate guy who was like working for the news anchor Walter Blunt, who was played by Patrick Stewart. He was a nice guy. So, of course, here we use a picture of Dupinder specifically here because it looks like Bhargav in all his vlogs, he was driving a lot, so it's kind of.
And also, he would be like the main person shuttling people back and forth on the film shoots too.
Absolutely. So, I love this actor, and I think, if you're going to cast anyone for Bhargav, I think he'd be good for it.
So Bhargav's role in a nutshell is kind of like he's the guy who sees the writing on the wall and gets out before all the shit starts hitting the fan, essentially. Would you say that's right?
That's right as well. And again, his role in kind of our trio here, and in general, before that moment happens that you're speaking to, is that he's the question guy of the group. Like he's just kind of the logical guy in the room asking the questions.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's like his role is like he's the question guy. Ellis is actually the brains, but he doesn't know he's the brains, and Michaud's the salesman. That's really their dynamic there.
Okay, Dragon, I'm gonna go back to the poster. Just let me know when I should start looking for the next person.
Sure, sure. You'll probably want to. I'll let you know. We're getting there. All right.
Okay.
So the trio, Ghostbusters style, they're pondering, what next. Michaud wants to form a company. Bhargav being the question man of the group, he suggests, okay, well, yeah, let's. He basically like, how do we achieve that? Like, what kind of companies? Basically, he's always the guy like asks. He's just a very straightforward, just kind of nonchalant guy of the group asking questions. And Ellis suggests maybe something like a website or something internet based, which of course Michaud's going to run with. Like, yeah. Okay, so the Walkers. Meanwhile, we cut back to our Walker story. The Walkers are watching Transformers. This is a reference to something that I really didn't want to put in the movie, but at least we could have reference to it. Where before obviously Nostalgia Critic, his first actual review is Cartoon All Stars: The Rescue. But technically, it does the Transformers thing, which essentially is a bum review, but as a nostalgia.
The Transformers thing is really interesting, yeah, because it's kind of like this crossroads between his two big characters.
Well, I figured the way we'd go about that, again, folks, it's a liberty, but I thought it was like we had a way of tying it into the story. So basically, let's just say the Walkers are watching Transformers from 2006. I think it was either 2005 or 2007.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just okay, fine. Just let's say it came out on DVD at that time or whatever. The point is, like, they saw it, and they're talking about it afterwards or while they're watching it on home video, whichever. The point is, the Walkers, while they're watching Transformers, they chat about nostalgia for the original.
Just like, oh my god, they just got none of that right. Just that was just complete fail from beginning to end.
And this gets a conversation going about the nostalgia they had for the original, which basically a conversation about nostalgia and just kind of like being kind of childish about it to an extent, and basically kind of ranting and having fun ranting about it. It leads to the genesis of the two brothers having a fun rant of a conversation on adapting like a childhood IP.
And then they kind of like realize, like, wait a minute, it's never been done before? Like a Siskel and Ebert type dynamic, but with cartoons and animation and nerd culture type stuff.
Yeah, like one cart, like kind of over the like. What if Siskel and Ebert weren't so civil? Like, what if one of them was over the top and almost Daffy Duck like? It's kind of like a cartoony rant of like why this is wrong and just kind of spelling it out instead of being all polite and intellectual about it. And of course, it just kind of breeds. Essentially, this leads to the nostalgia critics. All the pieces are coming together, and then there's a question. Then it's a question of how. So again, that's a question like how do we do that? So they start. Okay, now we're gonna need.
Okay, yeah, I'm on top of it.
Essentially, it's a question of how, and they watch some online videos of some other reviewers, and the main one they get to. We had to figure out how to tie this character is kind of like a big bond with the Walker brothers. So we kind of introduced them a little bit here, not as overtly as originally I intended it to be. So I think it's a little more clever this way. It's a question. They start watching some Cinema Snob videos. Who again, the Cinema Snob did exist way before Channel Awesome, and even predates the Walkers, I think.
Yeah, he does.
Of course, I have one of my favorite go-to actors here. He's Toby Leonard Moore. Toby Leonard Moore was excellent in Daredevil, and he's a character actor. He's been in other shows. A lot of people would recognize him from John Wick. He's on a show called Billions with Paul Giamatti. So I had a really good one-shot episode of Blue Bloods. The point is, we love this act. I love this actor, and he has a voice that sounds similar to Brad Jones. He's that kind of smile, and again, age-wise, he's kind of like
Lloyd's a great cat.
He would befit, he'd be like the reviewer. He'd be a more down to earth, a niche. Basically, the Cinema Snob, he's like a niche reviewer. He reviews some very unusual things, and that's kind of like he'd be kind of
Cinema Snob in this movie for me is that Brad Jones is like the most like innocent person in this whole story to a certain extent, even though he's on surface level, it's like he's this creepy guy who reviews pornography. You know what I mean? But we see that Brad Jones really has a heart throughout the movie.
You'd introduce him to your mother, It's like, oh, hey, look, it's Brad Jones.
Right.
That's the thing. So I mean, Brad, he's we have the likability of Brad Jones here, and Toby Leonard Moore, as we see as Wesley, he's very very likable. So again, kind of a niche casting for a niche reviewer. And anyway, so that's kind of their starting point. Okay, like how do you approach like a specified version of reviewing? So again, like we kind of target nostalgic stuff. So basically, they kind of learn lessons from okay, like so we have like a singular kind of view, like he's always sitting in the chair, so we'll be sitting behind a desk. They're creating a list like on like a whiteboard or something. They're listing all these review ideas they could do or writing it down. And meanwhile, Doug has like a chaplain find the hat and where he finds the military hat and the coat and stuff. Rob works the camera again, like showing it's like Star with Two Brothers, very founder like, it's a Star with Two Brothers. And they arrange the massage table is kind of found with the paisleys and everything on it, and they see and then we see we basically see a recreation of the Cartoon All Stars review as their first full fledged nostalgia critic review. And Doug is showing
not the whole thing, but
no.
definitely, I don't know what would be some good pulls from that one, Dragon.
Well, probably some of the George C. Scott stuff, if not the song at the end, or something along those lines. So basically pull some landmark stuff from it as much as we can. Anyway, so Doug's showing Rob he's showing Rob.
Oh, actually, no, hold on. I have the perfect. So the moment that sells Cartoon All Stars for me is wait. Bugs Bunny can't know what a joint is, because if Bugs Bunny knows what a joint is, that means he knows what drugs are. And if Bugs Bunny knows what drugs are, that means that all the other Looney Tunes know what drugs are. And if all the other Looney Tunes know what all the drugs are, then that just makes too much goddamn sense.
That's good. I like that. Okay, that's the scene we'll use. That's the main clip we'll use for Cartoon All Stars. Anyway, so Doug's showing Rob the video. Then he pulls up like a thing that he edited on the side, a 5-second movie that he edited, and basically Rob's saying, "Wow, that's great, Doug," intimating that Doug secretly he's always been a better editor than a writer or filmmaker. He's always been a fantastic editor. That's where his real kind of meat and potatoes what it should have been. All right. So, the brothers are bouncing notes over the review, and we're going to need the next image at the ready.
Okay.
So the brothers are bouncing notes over the review after they put one out, a few like 5-second movies out, and they're getting the character figured out. Thanks to Cartoon All Stars, they kind of have we were kind of reflecting on cartoons. Maybe Daffy Duck. We love Daffy Duck. That'd be kind of a fun kind of personality to attach to the nostalgia critic and figuring him out. And essentially kind of like a Sam Kinison, like a guy who yells a lot. And that's kind of like, they never said Sam Kinison, but it feels so much like Sam Kinison. At least I've always felt that with nostalgia critics. Let's just say, whatever the influence is, it was always like Sam. He referenced Sam Kinison once, or whatever the point is. A mixture of like a Looney Tune meets like kind of an over-the-top comedian for the voice of the nostalgia critics. So they're figuring that out. They're watching a few more videos, which introduces another reviewer.
Betrayal! Betrayed me! This game sucks!
That's right, folks. We have the wonderful Simon Helberg as Noah Spoony, the Spoony one, Antwiler.
Spoony is a really interesting role in this whole story because, like, Spoony's exit is before most of the shit really goes down. But Spoony leaves a lasting impact on the site, and Spoony's story is almost kind of like a warning to Doug. It's almost kind of like oh my god, I really like. Basically, Spoony ends up in one terrible position, and Doug, while not ending up in the same position, kind of ends up in a prison of his own making nonetheless.
In all fairness, I think Spoony is kind of the intersecting point. He's the midpoint between where Doug's story takes a turn and kind of a foreshadow for where Juario's story might turn. He's kind of a cross-sectional in that regard. Of like he's mainly Doug's at the end of the day, but I think he kind of opens
I feel like that's very appropriate too, because before the Justin Carmichael stuff came out, I would say that Spoony was probably the most controversial Channel Awesome member.
Exactly.
So okay.
And again, Simon Helberg very easily, because you have to imagine a guy who could be insano, and like Simon Helberg, his impressions as over the top characters. He has the voice, he has the look, and he looks enough like.
If you don't know this guy by name, folks, you'll know him for his character. He's Howard on The Big Bang Theory.
Yes, I mean he's wonderful in The Big Bang Theory. He's great. Anyway, so But yeah, I think it's pretty.
I gotta say, Dragon, I'm just gonna give some love to my boy Zach Braff, who I was kind of trying to champion for this role. But after you sent me that picture of Helberg with the, you know, kind of like doing his little arm gestures and the suit on the talk show, it looks so much like Spoony. You know what I mean? It looks like Spoony at the height of his career, like, you know, taking in the luxury of his fame before
and again,
everything goes wrong.
Certainly, too. Again, if you ever hear Simon Helberg yell, you'll say, "Oh my God, it's the same. That's Spoony."
Gotcha.
Anyway, so what they really learned from Spoony, this kind of transitions to them going forward, is they kind of, in kind of looking at other reviewers like Spoony, that kind of leads to the video game movie idea of like, let's do a movie, like a nostalgic movie. Like, we're not going to do a video game review because, again, we don't have like a whole thing dedicated, a whole Bart Simpson game or anything. But I'm just saying, like, they're not going in for the gaming thing. They're just going for, let's do a movie about a video game, which of course leads to Mortal Kombat and sets up, of course. And the brothers are cracking up at it, of course. So basically, a playlist is growing and the views are going up. So we're seeing the rise in success for these guys. So meanwhile, as that's happening, the trio are kind of our trio of wannabe Ghostbusters, if you will. Basically, our lovable loser trio from Circuit City. They're searching at their home base. They're searching for YouTube talent. You know, and we have a few cameos, and I guess we'll do the next one ready here too. So we basically
just tackle all three of these all at once in one go.
Well, we already established the first two, so we just have the last one.
Oh, okay, so. Got it. Okay.
Basically, in the order that we've already established, just to show they're kind of on the, basically kind of, again, build more of our guys here, that so we can basically say they're more in Act 1, so we can, you know, introduce them for Act 2. And they're going through the same guys our walkers have gone through, and kind of showing the paralleling arcs here, that they check out the Cinema Snob, they check out some Spoony videos, and then, of course, the creme de la creme, kind of out of the three of them, kind of the top tier.
He's gonna take you back to the past to play these shitty games that suck ass.
That's right, folks. It's the angry video game nerd.
Oh, yeah. Dragon, I'm in love with this casting. I really am.
So I picked this because, again, going with kind of the Hollywood of it all here, I wanted someone that you could buy as like a rival for Ryan Gosling, Doug Walker, and like a rival that would be, you know, Sam Rockwell, who especially is tearing it up now, where, you know, Gosling was tearing it up with, you know, in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, who doesn't like Sam
Rockwell? Of course, he just has that kind of like quirky, eccentric quality to him that I feel would be so good for James.
I mean, yeah, he does, and of course, I've seen Sam Rockwell get hilariously angry a lot, and again, especially in the image that we have before us here. So, you know, he can definitely capture some qualities of James.
So
Rolfe.
James Rolfe, to put it simply, in this film, he's basically like,
he's a benchmark of success.
Yeah, he's everything that Doug Walker wants to be from the start, and he's everything that Doug Walker wants to be at the end of the story. Like, he's just consistently pretty much just better than Doug all the way around. I don't mean to be blunt with it, but
essentially we're saying, like, Angry Video Game there, he's kind of a self-made success and a model for the nostalgia critic that, again, Doug can measures up to at a certain point, but then things change.
So, and of course, as we'll see throughout Act 1, we kind of have the rivalry thing play out, as we'll get into.
Yes, and again, our trio who are looking at these guys, again, we have like 3 online personalities they're going through, just for kind of, again, simplicity's sake and kind of establishing our characters. You know, they kind of handicap each reviewer, and basically this is kind of like Michaud's way of like not putting a lot of work into it, where he's basically saying, too niche, like the Cinema Snobby's too niche, you know, like all the porn reviews and everything. Then, of course, they get the Spoony. He's like, no, we need movies, not games. More people see movies than, you know, they have to be really into it with the games. And then they realize also with that they need someone local, someone kind of in the Chicago area, out of laziness.
Laziness, probably.
Mainly, again, Michaud there. I want to say Michaud could go places, but he's kind of a slacker at the end of the day. He's just like, that's, you know what. And again, also, they need someone early in their career, because the Angry Video Game there, again, he's all self-made, and he's like, he's bigger than God for them at the moment. They're like, no, we can't reach the Angry Video Game there. He's kind of exactly where we want to be. You know, like, he's not too niche of a gamer, but he's also approachable for a lot of other people. And he does have like a movie thing on the side. He's exactly what we want to kind of hang our hat on, kind of be in his corner, but we can't get to him because he doesn't need us. Which leads them to, again, like while they're looking for like video game movies, it kind of leads into the Super Mario Brothers video. Like, if I were to pick any clip, would be the whole Luigi Mario and Mario, which of course is, you know, the Nostalgia Creek videos. Basically, they have found their kind of their patron, if you will. They found Nostalgia Creek. Yes, that's our guy. We got to go after that guy. So 2008. So now it's 2008.
And this is pretty much the kind of the convergence of the two worlds right here, where the Walker brothers are kind of in a crisis over the copyright issues. This is right when they have to leave YouTube over
And it is a
that.
full circle thing where we start on YouTube, and of course by the end we'll be definitely kind of on YouTube.
Exactly. And then enter the Three Stooges. How exactly did the Three Stooges approach them, Dragon? That's something we never really hashed out.
Well, again, the idea is they've been looking for him, and again, he's in the nearby Chicago area. So, Michaud basically,
Michaud kind of pulls an inverse of Sean Parker's introductory line in The Social Network. He's basically like, "I need to find you, Doug Walker."
Exactly. So basically, Michaud's selling them on like, hey, let's grow the Nostalgia Critic brand, like with a website that essentially would make them safe from copyright, which for all intents and purposes was kind of true. Basically, again, I forget. Now, here's the thing. I think the Walkers, this might be a dramatic liberty, because I forget if the Walkers had, I think that guy with the glasses was theirs, and essentially not, like, they might have had their own website, but the point is, they still turned that guy with the glasses into like a bigger community website. So the point is, whether they had a website or just, I don't know if they just titled their YouTube channel that guy with the glasses or not, whatever. The point is, let's say their YouTube channel is called That Guy with the Glasses. Then these guys are saying, let's just turn that into a website. A channel awesome, if you will, but of course they would just use That Guy with the Glasses, which basically is kind of Doug's identifier, as like that. You can be our centerpiece, basically our centerpiece talent, and like basically we'll cultivate a channel awesome, because the grand scheme of it, folks, is that Michaud wants a community. He doesn't just want one guy; he wants a community of people, and he's kind of like
kind of like the one big contributing point that Michaud adds to this whole story. That's like the one positive thing that he does. Although, as we'll see, the community thing, while a wonderful idea in concept, Michaud also just executes terribly.
Absolutely. And of course, this leads to the logo gag from Kick-Ass, where I found it's a fun fact that the ice cream cone with the Uzis and like the 5 o'clock shadow and the tough looking ice cream cone that was the flag for Kick-Assia was actually the original logo that Doug and Rob worked up for Channel Awesome. And then they have kind of an over the top gag here where they say, well, yeah, that's awesome, right? Says, yeah, maybe something a little more professional. Cut to just the Channel Awesome logo.
Just Doug Walker's head on the logo. And this is going to kind of be like the first foreshadow of like shade being thrown Mike Ellis's way for him handling the website side of things.
Exactly. Let's see. So, what is it?
I should probably switch. Should I switch back to the poster for the time being, do you think?
Yeah, for the time being, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's see. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Oh, yes. Okay, so basically we see a montage of the list of reviews growing. So basically we see like, the titles, like you basically mirror basically we see the old playlist, how it was laid out. Basically have like the drop bar and everything, have like the red and the white logos, and you see like more videos being added, like the list is kind of growing. And during this output montage, as the list of reviews are growing, we see a montage like the making of some of these. Basically, we isolate a few specific things. So we start with like 3 key reviews in all this. One is Tom and Jerry, where basically with Tom and Jerry, as they're making Tom and Jerry, we see the Walkers process, where they watch a film, they write the review, and they film it.
Essentially, what they're doing now with the first viewing series.
Yeah, and then we have Captain Plan, which basically quickly just introduces the Monty gag.
The Monty, yeah, you just kind of have to quickly show like the heart. I'm going to destroy you with the power. No. What's the line? It's kind of like the whole bit where it's like, what the hell? Oh no, I know what it is. It's the critic interviewing Monty, and he's like, well, frankly, critic, it pisses me off.
Monty from Captain Planet. Yes, and of course, lastly, very important for later on, we have a Batman and Robin. Of course, if you have to have any review in this movie, you have to have Batman and Robin, because that's the one that kind of made them, honestly. It's one of the big reviews that made Nostalgia Critic.
I would actually say Batman and Robin might be, outside of maybe The Room, the Nostalgia Critic's definitive review.
That and technically, that and a third for Cartoon All-Stars. Like, those are the 3 that kind of made them.
And anyway, Batman and Robin, of course, what else do you have but A bat credit card?
I'll kill you.
I'll kill you. I'll kill all of you.
Then, very much kind of a Better Call Saul inflatable montage, because I love the inflatable sequence from Better Call.
Have to explain this to the folks, Trey.
Essentially, just a really well edited, really well energized. Just in Better Call Saul season 2, episode 7, titled "Inflatable," we see kind of the origin of Saul Goodman's suits in Jimmy McGill. So, just points it's Bob Odenkirk kind of. It's set to I believe a Scorpio or Scorpico. It's a really great soundtrack for a montage. So basically, what we have here is just in energetic level matching that. If you guys want to look into it, it's a visual montage of Doug having various costume changes for the 4 shows that he has, and it's the show he's really kind of increasing his output. So we see the Nostalgia Critic, the costume, the Ask That Guy costume. We see some 5-second movies being produced. Sorry?
Bum reviews.
And bum reviews, yes. And meanwhile, so again,
Bhargav interrupts almost like a record scratch. You know, it's like,
exactly.
Actually, critic,
there's a problem. We cut to the Angry Video Game Nerd videos. They're showing them the Angry Video Game Nerd video. Basically, I guess the nerd was just basically referring to yeah, I'm getting all these comparisons in the Nostalgia Critic. Well, I ain't nothing like that. Basically, cursing out the Nostalgia Critic as he does. And basically, they're getting comments and stuff and wondering, what are we going to do? They're saying that we ripped him off, which obviously we didn't. But we let's be honest, we were looking at the Video Game Nerd before. We were looking for the Nostalgia Critic. So we're kind of looking for the same.
Dragon, I actually think that with James, like, the fans were definitely serious about it. But with James, I kind of think he had the idea before the Walkers had the idea of kind of making it into a like a wrestling rivalry, because I remember his early videos like, oh, what the hell, he's nothing like me. Like James is being very boastful about it, you know what I mean, like the fact that he owns the angry review genre.
Sure, and again, that's essentially, I would imagine that's why he probably agreed to it. It's like-minded, you know. But Michaud has, let's just say Michaud on this side of it, he has the pro wrestling feud idea. Like, yeah, we could turn this into something. And of course, Doug and Rod are like, yeah, I'm in for that. It sounds cool. We can get him to agree to it. Sure. Cut to Nostalgia Critic kind of sending his response to the rant and like his own rant. Then the two of them fighting, over the top. Cut to them fighting in the boxes, like all these boxes that are laid out, and to basically see the views are skyrocketing from this crossover. All right, so then another energetic sequence. There is a really cool one here. So basically, there's a round table intercut. Now we're definitely going to need some images at the ready here.
Okay.
We're going to come fast, so we have at least the next 3.
Okay.
All right, so we have a round table intercut sequence of the trio and the Walkers coming up with ideas to separate the site and Nostalgia Critic from the Angry Video Game Nerd, because while they can make a meal out of it, they want to avoid the comparison in a clever way. So basically, they're starting the origins of Channel Awesome, if you will. And basically, as we introduce these people, so as they come up with the idea, we cut to them today filming videos, so we can see, okay, an inkling where they're at now versus where they're at when they were introduced. So, the first one historically was the Nostalgia Chick contest. We have the Nostalgia Chick contest.
Dragon, you're the one who cast both these people, so
yes.
I will say this with the Nostalgia Chick contest. Mars Girl actually ends up becoming much more pivotal to the story. Lindsay's just kind of there because, she's a big figurehead of the site. She ended up being the Nostalgia Chick, so you got to have her. But Mars Girl is definitely the one that the story more hinges on.
Certainly, and this actress here, she's Joanna Wellick from Mr. Robot. She just looks remarkably like Lindsay Ellis, so we got some fun there. All right, let's see. So basically, the Nostalgia Chick contest cut to Lindsay and Mars Girl, just sending their entries in. Or basically, we're seeing them today, but basically the contest and the selection process. So basically, you're inferring, okay, there's a contest for a Nostalgia Chick to review the female stuff. Nostalgia Chick would.
Actually, didn't I come up with this casting, Dragon, with Kristen Stewart? Was I?
No, I threw it at you, and you agreed with it.
Oh, okay. It seems like something I could.
I had the celly on, remember?
I guess you did. You're right.
But basically, you were on board because basically I cited Cafe Society and said, "Oh yeah, that absolutely makes sense."
So Mars Girl, she has a huge role to play in Act 2. The Act 2 is kind of where she shines.
Mars Girl's kind of the glue to it all in a way.
In a way, yeah, she's almost kind of like the person who really wants to be involved in the community and doesn't really understand kind of like the big kind of like pissing contest that's going on between a lot of the producers. She's very much an innocent in the story.
Absolutely. Tika, it's a perfect word to describe it. Yes. She and probably Film Brain when we get to them. They're probably the most innocent. And Brad Jones, but again, he kind of took a side, though. So, I mean, like honestly, yeah. Film Brain and Mars Girl are probably the most innocent in this. Okay, and then, then we have Spoony, who now they have enough clout that they could get
betrayal.
Then Michaud has someone in mind. Michaud, and this is from real life, Michaud, he threw Phelous' hat in the ring.
And, oh God, here we go, folks, to the most spot-on casting. There it is. Sorry. So, I've only seen the episode that this guy was in of The Flash once. Well, I shouldn't say episodes. He's been in multiple episodes, but... my God, Dragon, just this side-by-side comparison, literally I did a jump scare the first time I saw it.
Yes. Well, we're jumping, I think we meant Phelous, Tiki, but I mean, yes, let's talk about Linkara, though.
Oh, my bad. You see, I kind of, like, I know that Michaud and Linkara are very much in tune with each other, so I thought you were building up to Linkara.
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, again, Michaud, he did bring both of them to the table, though. But okay. That's the point is we have Phelous, but we also have Linkara, who I'm very proud of. By the way, so yes, he's Wentworth Miller, who was excellent in Prison Break, and he's so fantastic as Captain Coulson. I've always championed that he sounds so much like Linkara. He was the only choice I had in mind for Linkara from the get because I knew he'd be perfect for him. We found a younger picture of Wentworth Miller where he had. Nowadays, he kind of shaves his hair down, but I'm saying with hair, he looks just like him. He's in the brown coat and everything.
The brown coat, the glasses. The glasses are what really sell it, to tell you the truth.
I mean, folks,
this really does look like basically like a Channel Awesome fan art poster right here.
So after, I'll tell you what, you get ready and show the folks Phelous while I talk about Linkara.
Phelan! All right.
So, folks, the thing with Linkara, it's really cool. So, again, basically, like, Michaud, he's pitching Phelous, and then they're talking like, yeah, let's get a comic reviewer like that Linkara guy, because Linkara is also a pre-existing kind of property at that time. Not since the Status Creek, but kind of at the same time, like around 2008, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And they were thinking, and this is what kind of gets Michaud to perk up, like, yeah, like, something we might be able to spin off. Again, like, we might be able to spin off to, like, another company, basically the whole inked reality and blistered thumbs of it all. So they brought Spoony on to reach the video game demographic, and again they were kind of slowly getting the blistered thumbs. And with Linkara, it was very similar with Ink Reality. Comics, people love comics and comic book movies, so again, very instant tie-in for that. So Michaud perks up, and this is a big moment. So as you said, Tiki, Michaud definitely has a horse in Linkara's game here, where it's a big moment where Michaud is actually being very proactive in meeting with Linkara and selling him on his vision of Channel Awesome, which again is the community of it all.
Wait, should I just go back to Linkara?
Well, no, show Phelous because we just want to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think we should jump into that scene before. I think we should probably have Linkara up on screen when we go into that.
All right, sure. Yeah, let's talk about Bill Hader here.
Okay, so Bill Hader. It's not a huge role, but I feel like he's definitely. Obviously, we're gonna get him and Lupa together in the second act. I feel like Phelous is just kind of like he's another victim of the whole situation. He's just kind of someone where at the end of the day, the folks at Channel Awesome just kind of used and abused him and his loyalty and his talent and kind of just left him on the street. So Phelous is going to be he's not going to have a huge role in the thing, but he's going to be kind of like a lovable kind of. He's going to be like the lovable cynic in this movie, just like he is in, in his videos. And playing Phelous is Bill Hader.
Yes, and remarkably, I think that deep down the reason we got Bill Hader, aside from the fact that he's dazzling me on Barry right now, he's so good in Barry. But aside from that, Tegan and I are big Bill Hader fans, and I think Bill Hader could capture the fun. Like if you ever meet Phelous, from what I hear, you ever meet Phelan. you'll know that he can do like the deadpan kind of creepy reviewer guy. He can do that, but by the same token, I hear he's really nice in real life.
I actually heard he's pretty shy.
That's what I'm saying. I could
Which
Bill
I can
Hader to
totally see and I can kind of relate to as well. Like, because me, I'm very animated when I'm doing the podcast and everything, or at least I try and be. But and even when I'm hanging, even in a work environment, right? In a work environment, I'm trying to be professional. I'm trying to maintain a relationship with my coworkers and everything. But at the end of the day, I am a very reserved, kind of quiet person at the end of the day.
exactly. So you have that with something that Bill Hader could definitely reflect well.
Oh,
All right, so getting back to the Linkara, you get the image up. I'll keep
going. Linkara.
So again, it's a big moment where Michaud's being very proactive, meeting with Linkara, starting to sell him on his vision of Channel Awesome, which again, a community before it's about just one person, Nostalgia Critic. Where again, if it comes down to it from a monetary perspective, he's going to go for the Nostalgia Critic, but again, he wants like multiple Nostalgia Critics essentially,
and this moment is essentially kind of him. It's really the first sign of Michaud kind of like having multiple horses in the race and kind of like not necessarily pitting people against each other just yet, but maybe making some promises that he doesn't necessarily know that he can keep, even if he wants to.
Because you got to remember, Linkara at this point in time, he had like 5 or 6 videos to his name, so he was exactly a more well-formed and professional version of the Nostalgia Critic in his YouTube days. And he basically saw, like, again, while he already had Nostalgia Critic and was building kind of a small empire there, he saw another one in Linkara, and again, someone who can maybe, if he could relate to and get to before anyone else did, he might be able to have like a fail-safe in case something happened to Nostalgia Critic, or again, someone he could spin off with. So he's basically, Linkara's kind of the golden boy here. Linkara's not a bad guy by any stretch, but he definitely has kind of he has like a professionalism to a sense where it kind of builds an ego about himself, where he's really good at what he does. He's professional, but that sometimes has been his downfall.
Well, he's going to be a pivotal player through the whole story, and he's going to have one moment with Michaud in Act 3 in particular that's going to be a kind of a chilling bookend to this scene.
That's and basically like Michaud saying, "Hey, atop the fourth wall, your show could be the next Nostalgia Critic, and you could have a network of connections in working with us." So Linkara is in on very logically from that. And again, folks, just remember, Michaud reached out to him, so he and Michaud have that kind of that golden boy, like, "Hey, you brought me into this sort of thing." So Linkara definitely has a lot of responsibility thrust upon him. More on that when we get to Act 3. Anyway. So let's see. So basically, that was Michaud's big pull. So Doug's big pull, getting to our next guy here. Next guy from England.
Okay.
Doug discovers Film Brain. He discovers Film Brain from the 5-second movies. Basically, Film Brain, Matthew Buck, he did these 5-second movies, I believe, on YouTube, where basically he copied what Doug was doing, and he did like a parody of it where he basically did a 5-second movie of Doug's firing video that we opened the movie on. And Doug watching that, seeing, oh man, things are working out tremendously well so far. Like, look how far we've gone from the very beginning where I quit my job. And Doug himself is getting nostalgic looking at this reminder of that moment. So he reaches out to him in kind of a way of like, I can take the kid under my wing, kind of like a Mean Joe Green coconut smile moment from the original guy saying, hey.
I think this is an important thing we want to kind of hit on with our narrative device here.
Yeah.
I think the framing device, there's 2 things to hit on with the framing device. A, the time of it all, the timeline of it all. Of course, like the framing device is kind of lining up with the present day events that are currently going on. That went down like a month ago, and also, Dragon, importantly, I would say a secondary framing device is as much of the Channel Awesome movies as we can put into the story, like as much of the personality of each character via the movies that we can put in. We're going to do it because we're going to kind of play into the stereotypes a little bit. So with that way, we're going to kind of have Doug be the M. Bison type in a few scenes. And
yeah, there was a lot of kick-ass in our movie at the end. There's a lot of it, really.
And with Matthew Buck, importantly, I feel like we're definitely drawing inspiration from like the 3-film saga that was the Matthew Buck and, the Film Brain nostalgia critic dynamic, where Film Brain was just very over eager to impress nostalgia critic, while at first having good intentions, maybe at the end of the day, neglected the kid a little bit.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's very on the money. Of course, we have Tom Holland playing Film Ray. A lot of people just roll their eyes at that casting, I'm sure. Just like, oh, yeah, you cast like a very popular young kid from the MCU. But no, folks, I think Tom Holland's got a range. And again, we're
He's
looking for kind of a.
literally British.
Yeah.
He's British. He's bubbly. I feel like he'd have a lot of fun with the role.
He's very plucky, and we need someone plucky for Film Ray.
Exactly.
And again, someone who can be casual plucky, too. That's the quality I really wouldn't.
I want to see Tom Holland in like a fun-loving role like Spider-Man, but able to use his actual like British accent.
Exactly. So basically, it's like a real friendly kind of Mean Joe Green coconut smell, where he welcomes him on like through an email or a text or something, and like via text through an email. He says he welcomes Filmbring to join Channel Awesome, and he's asking him like, hey, how would you like to do? I was really impressed what you did with the 5 second video. How would you like to do the real 5 second videos? What if I because essentially he allowed him to do the 5 second videos on the channel. Like you edit them. Why don't you basically? I don't have to do the work on them, and you could do the actual thing instead of like kind of a reference to it. It's really nice. So again, now we're entering 2009. The brothers are doing some charity work. So again, we're seeing they did some good while they were there.
Until the next character dragon.
We are. We'll be at the very end, so we're almost there.
Should I?
Well, I mean, yeah, you should probably go to the poster.
Okay.
We'll build to that. We can definitely build to that guy. So anyway, okay, folks, we're getting close to the end here. So. Ellis. So Ellis is showing the trio the website very pridefully. Bhargav's asking, what about the drop bars? This is very infamous, and this is a fun running gag here.
I feel like the drop bar is kind of like the running gag of all of Channel Awesome in a way.
It is, because even in those early, you remember, even those early years, that drop bar was annoying.
It's so ridiculous that it never got fixed, ever.
This is a running. It's not only a running gag; it's kind of a symbol of what was wrong with Channel Awesome. It was always like, "We'll get to it," but we never did.
Exactly.
Bhargav's asking again, being the question man of the group. He's asking, "What about the drop bar?" And Michaud of all people says, "We'll fix it later." And he begins to play the Xbox, but the Xbox is also another symbol
of. Here we go. This is the start of a running gag throughout the film with Michaud playing the Xbox, folks. Because we kept on hearing about that throughout the Not So Awesome documented interviews and stuff. That as the company went on, Michaud would just kind of like retreat into his own role to playing Xbox and not want to focus on the company issues as the company issues got more intense. In this film, that is definitely going to be a running gag.
And the important thing to note is basically the symbol of the Xbox being kind of complacency and being kind of like in that social network vibe, like, hey, I can multitask very easily.
He's wired in.
Yeah, he's wired in. It would be that with the Xbox, like right now, he picks it up he's about to play the Xbox, but he gets distracted by the potential here. So he's at his most proactive in the first act, and that's gonna he's flirting with it though, where he puts the Xbox controller down, and Bhargav is playing some videos and he's exploring the site to see how everything works, and he sees the crossover reviews with Fern Gully, basically a few clips from like Fern Gully
was Doug and Lindsay,
and then Superman 4 with
Doug and Linkara,
then Alone in the Dark with the three of them with Spoony.
Was that Spoony and Film Brain or just Spoony?
No, that was Spoony, Linkara, and Doug.
Oh, Linkara, right. I knew it was 3 people. Okay.
So basically looking at this, Michaud he gets an idea. So Ellis drops by, and this is a story that was on the commentary for Garbage Pail Kids. Ellis drops by after the brothers have shot Garbage Pail Kids, which still in their memory is like the worst thing they ever had to review. It's like, oh.
And they're just not having it. They're just kind of shell-shocked at this point.
Yep, and they're kind of, exactly. They're in shell shock, and he inquires about, what review did you guys do? Garbage Pail Kids.
Doug and Rob need to say it in unison. Just Garbage Pail Kids.
Exactly. And then Ellis has a line that he had in real life where he says, "We need to pay you guys more."
Which, of course, is going to be a fun gag in the moment. That's eventually going to turn into a very cutting line as we go through it.
Exactly. Basically tells him Michaud wants to see him, and basically Michaud. This is a fun scene. I love this scene here, especially again. Act 1, I think I think I did the best. I think we did the best job on Act 1, honestly. But anyway, so Michaud shares the anniversary idea with the Walkers. Basically, let's do an anniversary special, and as a way, and basically his foray into it is like, because this is the brawl we're referring to, folks. It's like, hey, let's make peace with the angry video game nerd as like a stunt, as a way of, we'll put an end to that. We've done that enough. Let's just put an end to the nerd feud as a way of launching kind of a spin-off site, so we can basically introduce more gamers officially. Like we're melding the gamers into our website, so we do when we launch Blistered Thumbs next year. Basically, we could launch like a whole video game division, like we're trying to do with Inked Reality. And the brothers, like, they're like, oh yeah, we love that idea. And basically, they're proposing a big film idea of, oh, we can do this and do that. Again, they're thinking like Suburban Nights and To Boldly Flee at this point. And Michaud cheaps it up. And
fair, I think the films that the Walker brothers want to make in real life are far more ambitious than stuff like Suburban Nights.
Exactly. I'm just saying that they're thinking. I'm just saying they're still thinking in that level of like they're thinking like bigger stuff they attempted to do in later years. So Michaud's he cheaps it up like he's gonna stop.
Guys, we need to budget this.
Yep, and he clips their creative wings, guys. Like I think it was a hotel, but I don't remember if it was a convention or not. But it definitely it looked like a hotel. The video they did. I tried looking this up and I couldn't find it. I think you told me convention looks like a hotel. I don't know.
Sure, it was what it was. I'm pretty sure was a convention center in a hotel. So like a conference room, I guess is the right word.
That's the thing. That's exactly what it looks like. So one is like a hotel convention, and basically it's like, okay, we can only bring in locals, but we can't fly people out like they did with Kick-Assia quite yet. So basically, if anyone wants to come out, it's going to be on their own dime for this one. But we're getting locals only. So they all arrive. So we're at the set piece from the brawl. It's like they have a really limited shoot. They have like maybe like let's say it's like 2 hours to shoot the whole thing, whatever. They all arrive and they all gather as Doug and Rob, as they do with each of the anniversaries. They have like a little meeting, a little kind of game plan meeting. And Doug and Rob, they greet the nerd. They shake hands. We're shaking hands. Ooh, and, making like
Rockwell and Gosling kind of pal around with each other.
Exactly, and they're going, yeah, and they're going over the plan. And Doug introduces each participant to applause. Like everyone's like, give him a big hand, folks. Give him a round of applause.
Like Price is Right. It's like Todd in the shadows. Come on down.
Exactly. So,
although I don't think Todd is involved at this point, I just kind of threw a random name out there. I digress.
Anyway, Tika, though, you might want to get the thing ready because we're building to him now.
Well, just build to it. Just keep building to it.
So anyway, so we build to everyone's getting like an applause, like yeah, give it up to it. It's getting like a good energy in the room here. So then they build to an eager newcomer featured on the site, because again he was featured on the site around this time. He wasn't there. It's just a liberty that we're taking here, but we're introducing. Here's a new.
Yeah, let's set this up, folks. He wasn't at the actual 1 year anniversary brawl. But we need to have him at the end of Act 1. We need to have him in this moment. So, like we say, creative liberty here.
And basically, I have a line that basically says he flew here on his own dime, like Michaud.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Just to show his ambition, like, hey, he flew here on his own dime. So again, he gets the biggest round of applause. Like, hey, this guy took the initiative. And they welcome Justin Carmichael, otherwise known as Jewario. And then it's like mass applause. Everyone's very happy. And then we just kind of break the fourth wall for a moment here, where we pause for the brothers. Again, for the framing device, they pause on Jewario. And
Justin, just the tip, Carmichael.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, I couldn't.
That approach is classily, man.
One of them in there, Dragon.
All right. Anyway, so the brothers exchange a look of shame with the paused Jewario image, and of course, Jewario played by a wonderful actor by the name of Eldon Henson, who everyone and their mother loves as Foggy Nelson on Daredevil.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and talk about our casting for Eldon Henson. We'll talk about kind of our thesis statement for the Jewario character, and then we'll round things out for Act 1.
Exactly.
All right, so with this character, I'd say it was between two choices for us, Dragon. Two very good choices. Eldon Henson, and also kind of my guy that I was kind of championing. I kind of just threw him out there. I thought he'd be a good one, so let's just kind of give him credit. So I also think Jesse Plemons could have played this role. But the thing is, Eldon Henson, like Jesse Plemons is kind of famous for playing these guys who are like very polite on the surface, but also very off-putting. I'm telling you, Dragon, you need to see Game Night for Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons is amazing in Game Night. But Eldon Henson, what Eldon Henson brings to this role is a warmth and kind of like a a misleading sense of familiarity and brotherhood. You know what I mean? He's just like, he's kind of the guy that everyone wants to be friends with, much like Giuwario was.
Exactly, and you'd see the reason we didn't go with Clemens at the end of the day, folks, is that you kind of see it coming with Clemens and the characters that he's played.
Exactly.
Again, with with Elden Henson, he's so likable, and he could be both the dramatic and basically what we're going to go for is kind of a shell shocked at times. Like a Giuwario, basically, we're trying to do an interesting thing with Giuwario, and to do that, we got to have a character who you like as
the single most complex character in the movie.
And that's the thing. So we wanted to go for someone who could definitely convey complex and kind of do something he hasn't really done before, but make it interesting. So,
and this is Elden Henson definitely stretching his acting roles. He's had some dramatic scenes in Daredevil for sure, especially the stuff with with having to decide whether he wants to support his friend or put an end to it. He has some good stuff, but this is going above and beyond. This is going to be Elden Henson's Oscar role. And I really do feel like if he pulls it off right, and of course we're talking about this as if this movie just got announced and it's actually going to happen, but digress. Hypothetically, if Elden Henson played off the role right, I would say this could very easily lead to a Best Supporting Actor nomination. Wouldn't you say, Dragon?
I'd buy it, absolutely, yes.
Best Supporting Actor nomination.
Most assuredly.
All right. So, Giuwario, I mean, what can be said about the arc of like basically it's just the ultimate kind of like gut punch of we're gonna build this guy up throughout the next 2 acts to be just the beacon of positivity. Just when like we kind of set up at the end of Act 1, you know what I mean, where it's like, oh my god, this guy is getting a big round of applause, he's very eager, he's just all smiles. Dragon, you had the perfect terminology for him, actually. He's the Mr. Rogers of the group.
Yes.
And of course, as we know with Giuwario, some of that might have been genuine, but obviously there's a big cloud of ambiguous murkiness leaning over everything that Justin was ever involved in now.
And that's kind of what we're trying to bring to the surface. We're trying to kind of decipher the mystery of, how does someone go from being such a beloved kind of friendly icon, like a Mr. Rogers of the internet almost, to at least of reviewers, to being someone who is now just he's so reviled and again so potentially just as people kind of like almost how does someone kind of go on an arc of going from that to evil, basically doing it's almost a Walter White arc now you think of it. It's almost like going from Mr. Chips to going to Scarface in a way. It's kind of like that almost.
But the thing is, I would say throughout the movie we never really want to present Justin as legitimately scary.
Exactly. We never want to do that, and we want to showcase that there's exactly what you said. So there's a gray murkiness to it all. That again, like if you feel it's kind of looking at the complexity of Giuwario now, where it's like if any part of you liked what you thought Giuwario to be, you weren't necessarily wrong, but it's just like another facet of the guy that you thought you knew and you really didn't. So now you're in this kind of this ambiguous place of like, who do you know? And Giuwario is the thematic device of this. For who do you know really? That's the big thematic thing that tied everybody here. Where again, we think we know Giuwario, think we get it. We think, oh, he's the plucky new guy showing some initiative here. It's just gonna be like another positive reviewer here. Where again, there's gonna be some very interesting stuff that in the end, essentially, again, Giuwario is kind of our MacGuffin to an extent too. He's kind of the main pillar that when that gets knocked out, things are gonna start tumbling down.
All right, folks, and I'd say that's a perfect place to end Act 1, Dragon. I think I'm very satisfied with how this podcast ended up. I really hope that this podcast gets some traction because, my God, Dragon, the man hours that went into this project between all the research that we did with it, all the time we spent hashing out story details. We actually canceled more than one podcast so that we could hash out story details.
Yep.
And then with me putting together the images and fine-tuning the story and fine-tuning the outline. Folks, I would say this might be the most ambitious project we've ever done on the channel. Would you say that's accurate, Dragon?
That sounds fair. Yeah, it's definitely probably the most ambitious. Again, with the whole finally we got side-by-side comparison, so I'd say yes, it's probably the most ambitious.
So I really genuinely hope that you guys are enjoying this. I hope that it finds an audience. I hope that it's not just like an obscure, that the topic itself is too niche. But my God, folks, we had a ton of fun, and it was just a labor of love putting this thing together. As lovers of biopics, as people who grew up on the Nostalgia Critic and on Channel Awesome, and as people who were both heartbroken and just kind of like, just morbidly like, we need answers, by the whole affair that went down a month ago. You're in for a wild ride, folks. We genuinely hope you liked Act 1, because Act 2 and beyond, things are going to get a lot more murky.
Yeah.
All right. So with that in mind, Dragon, do you have any funny Nostalgia Critic memes you want to go out on?
Of course.
Of course. We're not going to tell you what those memes are, but of course we have them.